Mo Qingcheng, the versatile instructor of the interstellar world who makes the world tremble with fear, known as the ever-changing little witch, accidentally crosses over to the evil stepmother. Disfigurement. Has the fake dove taken over the magpie's nest? Can a lame husband live or die or see a corpse? Has the little villain been crooked? Shortage of food and clothing, fleeing famine. Afraid of a yarn. Sister, if you don't mess around, how can you deserve the title of Little Witch? Due to natural and man-made disasters, the wind and clouds are surging. Sister Can, dressed in black, has conquered the world and gained fame, shaking the sky and the sea. The little villain glanced coldly and said, "Who dares to think of his mother? Beating him up makes him look for teeth everywhere. A certain man. It's not a biological mother, it's a biological mother. Little villain. Beat him up." Keywords of the novel. Escape farming. A malicious stepmother dressed as a villainous cub with no pop-ups, escape farming. A malicious stepmother dressed as a villainous cub. Download the complete set of TXT. Escape farming. A malicious stepmother dressed as a villainous cub. Latest chapters for reading. Chapter 1. Taking the Malicious Stepmother script. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Taking the Malicious Stepmother script. The autumn wind is bleak, and the mist is heavy. In Qingli country, Nanping village, Yulin town, there is a dilapidated thatched cottage with windows torn apart by the cold wind. On the pitch-black kong, two cute little children lay side by side, their minds dazed and their faces pale. In the courtyard, a slender figure turned its back to the wooden door, and the little lady half knelt on the ground, clutching a jade pendant tightly in her muddy little hands. Suddenly, a sneaky figure tiptoed and swung the wooden stick in her hand, hitting the back of the little lady's head. Bang! The little lady caught off guard and struggled twice, losing consciousness. Mo Qingcheng's head was splitting with pain, and he suddenly opened his eyes, hearing the sound of heart-wrenching cries in his ears. Help! Help! Woo-woo! Brother! Sister! Help! 3-year-old twins by Zimo and by Yunfei cried mournfully. Let go! Let go! My stepmother seems to have died, what should I do? 5-year-old twins Mu Wanqing and Mu Yunchuan ran in full swing and were startled. What are you crying for? It's just right to die. 8-year-old Shengguan Yinshi had just stepped into the threshold with one foot when she heard her elder brother's words. Her eyelids twitched. Mo Qingcheng, who was about to stand up, said, God, horse, ghost. Was it despised or was it despised? Ha! Mo Qingcheng sneered, and a strange memory flooded into his mind. I didn't expect her grand and intimidating interstellar all-around instructor to cross over to her malicious stepmother. The original owner was disfigured by someone, and the fake dove occupied the magpie's nest. Not only was he abducted and sold, but he also married his lame husband. Now, the ghost husband lives or dies, and he still has 6 little villains to raise. The key is that none of these 3 twins are biological. I was already short of food and clothing, and also suffered from a disaster with no harvest. This morning, the village chief went door and talked about the matter of famine escape. 3 days later, he traveled south all the way. Ding. Congratulations on the host binding the malicious stepmother system. I tied up 10,000 horses, and Mo Qingcheng exploded in place. Shut up, let me cry again. Believe it or not, I'll kill you all. A loud shout echoed in my ear, and it was Li Ergu from the neighboring village of Bishui. In Mo Qingcheng's beautiful eyes, there was a hint of anger and numbness, causing Ant to accidentally bind the system, which would come at a cost. 2 cute little children cried in a ball, and Lao Lu by Yunfei's face turned red with tears in her watery eyes. She pitifully cried and said, Stepmother, why did you die? Lao Wu by Zimo's nose twitched and he stole a glance towards Mo Qingcheng. No one is allowed to bully my younger brothers and sisters, said the boss, Shangguanichen, with a fierce look in his eyes. The second officer, Yun Shi, frowned and said, Li Ergu, hurry up and get out of here. Dad will come back and kill you. That's it. That's it. Old Simu Yunchuan lost a tooth and had a slight leak. Old Sanmu Wanqing's eyes rolled and he said, if you don't leave again, believe it or not. Believe that your stepmother will come back and kill you. Ha, joke. Li Ergu burst out laughing, pinching by Zimo and by Yunfei's arms hard, thinking to himself that selling these two little ones would still be enough to exchange for something to eat. Pop. Shangguanichen raised his eyebrows with a wicked charm, his eyes sharp. A stone the size of a baby fist hit Li Ergu's forehead, causing blood to flow instantly. Li Ergu never dreamed that he was beaten by a bastard and even bled. Li Ergu kept cursing and throwing the two children to the ground, picking up the wooden stick and smashing it at Shangguanichen's head. Ah! I'm fighting with you. Xiaoqili Shangguan Yunxi rushed forward, but unfortunately, she was too young and was kicked away by Li Ergu. Puff. Dear everyone, the new book has opened a pit, and the quality of the pit is guaranteed. Please support us. Black City Moon Sound is extremely grateful. Mamoda. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Want to run alone? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Want to run alone? The little girl spat out blood and stumbled to the ground, her face wrinkled into a ball. A hint of coolness flashed through Mo Qingcheng's beautiful eyes, and the carp stood up steadily. Stop. Are you a human or a ghost? Li Ergu exclaimed, isn't Xianyangpi dead? Female ghost. Mo Qingcheng flew up and kicked Li Ergu's third leg with his little foot. Get lost. If you don't get lost, do you believe my aunt made you become a eunuch in seconds? Li Ergu let out a mournful howl that echoed through the sky, and the villagers of Nanping village knelt together. Xianyangpi, you. Wait for me. Li Ergu turned around and ran. Bang. Ah. Mo Qingcheng picked up a few stones casually and hit Li Ergu's fat buttocks and legs with a few swish sounds. Li Ergu let out a howl, covered his buttocks with both hands, limped, exerted 12/10 of his strength, and ran into the mist, disappearing for a moment. Killing. Help. Li Ergu shouted as he ran. Mo Qingcheng's eyelids twitched, and in a moment of looking back, the 6 little ones stood in line, staring at her tightly with ghostly eyes. The 3rd child protected the 5th child behind him, while the 4th child held the 6th child in his arms. The boss and the 2nd are like old hens with fried feathers, full of guard in their eyes. Woo-woo. Painful. Painful. Stepmother. Old Wu Bai Zimo cried and scared several children. Mo Qingcheng hurriedly said in front of the mountain, Mo is not afraid, let me see. No way. Old Sanmu Wanqing snorted coldly, refusing to let Mo Qingcheng examine old Lu's injuries. Mo Qingcheng chuckled angrily and said, are you sure? Infection from a wound can lead to death. You're not selling your 5th brother, are you? Mu Wanqing's eyes rolled around and she tentatively spoke. Muaqing City is covered in black lines. How wicked was the original owner to make the children so guarded? Is it easy to be a versatile instructor in the interstellar space? Building orphanages, nursing homes. Beautiful, kind-hearted, both civil and military. Cough. The past is indescribable. However, it's comforting that a few children are in love with each other. Forget it, a group of little brats, why bother with yarn? Be good, Mo, come here, my stepmother will help you take a look. Mo Qingcheng took a deep breath, recalling the tone of the original owner, trying to be gentle as possible, afraid of scaring a few little girls. Bai Zimo struggled and stumbled towards Mo Qingcheng, tilting his head and saying, my stepmother, don't you eat Mo. Cough cough. Mo Qingcheng almost choked to death. How could that be? I'm not a vampire maniac. The stepmother just said she was a female ghost. The third grandmother in the village said that female ghosts specialize in eating beautiful children. Bai Zimo's confused little gaze almost melted Mo Qingcheng's heart. Mo Qingcheng conducted an examination and found that the child had only worn through the skin. He helped him bandage the wound and comforted him a few words. When his stomach was out of place and he started growling, Mo Qingcheng awkwardly stood up and said, "Are you all hungry? I'll go up the mountain and find something to eat." Bai Yunfei blinked and said, "Stepmother, do you want to run away alone?" The village chief and grandfather said they will go south in 3 days. Shouldn't the stepmother dislike them for dragging oil bottles and want to run away on their own? The little girl's eyes were a bit sore, and she blinked hard to prevent tears from falling. There's not a single bite left at home. Mo has been injured again, I'll be back soon. Mo Qingcheng took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and felt a chill in his heart. They have a golden finger while traveling, and my mother rewards 6 little villains. I'll go up the mountain with you. Shang Guanichen glanced coldly. No need. End of this chapter. Chapter 3, Open Hang or Open Pit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3, Open Hang or Open Pit. Mo Qingcheng politely refused Shang Guanichen's request, turned around and gave Lu Shaoonli a meaningful look, then turned around and headed straight to the back mountain. Jokes, let the boss follow, wouldn't it be troublesome? A minor antagonist among the proper antagonists. Shang Guanichen's eyes were cold, and a cold chill emanated from his body. He clenched his fists and said, "Don't run around, brother, follow her." Shang Guanyunshi opened her mouth, wanting to stop speaking. Just follow along. If their stepmother runs away, they can also make plans early. Mo Qingcheng's ears twitched slightly, his head covered in black lines. What a special fate was it to be bound by the system and become a vicious mother of 6 villains. Out of anger, Mo Qingcheng exerted too much force, feeling extremely happy and sorrowful. He rolled down the mountain slope with a thud and collided with a tree, piercing his fingers. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unexpectedly opening the Star Farm. Would you like to redeem the reward now or next time? Ha ha. Mo Qingcheng excitedly patted his forehead without looking, then waved his small hand and said, "Now." The next second, the roar of a battlefield shaking echoed in my ears. Roar! Roar! Nima! Mo Qingcheng cursed, tiptoed, grabbed the branch, and jumped up the tree. A wild boar roared and crashed into the tree trunk, causing the leaves to fall one after another. Suddenly, out of the corner of Mo Qingcheng's eye, he caught a glimpse of a corner of his clothes and breathed a sigh. What are you still doing in a daze? Climb the tree. Damn it. Shang Guanichen's lips wriggled, and his throat seemed to be blocked by something. He slowed down for a while, and the wild boar exerted too much force. Due to inertia, it could not stop the pig's feet and rushed towards Shang Guanichen. Bang! Shang Guanichen let out a muffled groan and was knocked out 2 meters, his eyes furrowed. The figure in front of her flickered, and the stepmother jumped onto the back of the wild boar. With a flick of her wrist, she pulled out a dagger from somewhere and fiercely stabbed it into the boar's neck. Shang Guanichen's breath stopped, and the little boy rushed forward like a madman, grabbing the wild boar's tail tightly. His eyes were crimson red, and his little hand swung a broken sword vigorously, piercing the boar's buttocks. The wild boar shook its head and brain, wanting to throw away the big and small ones. The first thing to do was not to worry, and it was abused to death. Poisonous woman. Little brat. The wild boar was on its last breath and fell to the ground, creating a deep pit. It was so painful that it suspected it was alive. It's difficult to be a pig, even more difficult to be a wild boar foraging for food. If I had known this, I wouldn't have come out even if I died. Qingcheng ended the small life of the wild boar with a dagger and muttered, "Brother pig, give birth to a good baby in the next life. Although your skin is thicker and your flesh is getting old, my aunt will not hold you accountable for actively seeking death. Hey, who left a few starving little brats in my aunt's house?" Shang Guanichen's eyes narrowed and he caught a glimpse of the wound on Qingcheng's forehead. With a hint of hoarseness in his tender voice, he said, "Are you okay?" "I can't die," Qingcheng replied lucidly. Fortunately, at a critical moment, the system delivered a dagger, otherwise I would have had to entrust my life here. I have never seen such a pit host before. In my mind, the system Barabara reported the number and was cut off by Qingcheng with just one click. "Let's go down the mountain. I'm starving to death soon." Qingcheng gave Shangguanichen a smirk. "Little brat, I have enough strength and means to break you up." The interstellar witch instructor was not built. Shangguanichen's eyes were as bright as ink, and his darkness was unclear. He had to obey Qingcheng's orders, and the two of them worked together to bring the wild boar home. "There's no other way, my younger siblings are starving to death." Shangguan Yunshi and others are eager to see through. Why hasn't brother come back yet? Shouldn't I have been beaten to death by my stepmother? I don't know who started, but Zimo started crying, and the other three little ones just kept wiping away their tears. As soon as Qingcheng entered the house, he happened to catch a glimpse of this scene and frowned slightly. People without skills only cry. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Open your belly. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Open your belly. Shangguan Yunshi stomped his foot, his eyes slightly turned, and his heart was filled with great joy. "Big brother. Big brother. You're great. Brother, how fat. Wow, brother is getting fat." Breathed a sigh of relief, Qingcheng. Little white-eyed wolf, gang, identification completed. Shangguanichen frowned and said, "She killed her. 5 little ones." One by one, stunned and incredulous, they looked at the malicious stepmother. Zimo walked up to a bowl with a chipped edge and said, "My stepmother, can you give us some meat to eat? Why are you still bringing it back without giving it to you?" Qingcheng rolled his eyes and said, "There are more and more little brats than one. How can we break through? Stepmother, drink water." Zimo's eyes rolled around, and if there was meat to eat, he wouldn't be hungry. Half of the water was sprinkled, and Qingcheng chuckled and brought the broken bowl over. He drank it upside down. Mu Wanqing blinked her watery eyes and flattered, "My stepmother is the most powerful stepmother in the village. Bear child, what harm has this caused? Can you omit the word after? Heart congestion." Qingcheng gave the children time to adapt and tired of handling the wild boar. "I plan to have meat for lunch." Shangguan Yunshi and Mu Wanqing exchanged a glance and walked forward, circling around Qingcheng. One goes to set fire, and the other washes wild pork. Shangguanichen glanced at the busy group of people, clenched his fists, and instructed the fourth son Mu Yunchuan to look at his younger brother and sister, then turned around and walked out of the house. After the wild boar meat was cooked, Shangguanichen walked in with a small bowl of salt and 2 small wild onions, and placed them in front of Qingcheng. It was borrowed from the village chief's grandfather's house. Qingcheng was slightly stunned, and a hint of amazement flashed in his eyes. "Thank you, you go wash up. We'll have dinner later." Shangguanichen said. Feeling heartbroken, I turned around and left. The corners of Qingcheng's mouth curved. "Little kid, it's quite interesting. The pork smells fragrant, and a few children are gathered in front of the stove, unable to drive away even after rushing. The children had not eaten enough for countless days and were starving." Qingcheng originally wanted to remind them not to eat too much, but when he looked up and caught a glimpse of the children's moist eyes, he gave up and let them open their stomachs to eat. The process of adaptation may be painful, but the happiness on the face cannot be ignored. On Shangguanichen's iceberg-like small face, a hint of smile appeared, fleeting in a flash, and he was caught by Mo Qingcheng. After dinner, Shangguan Yunxi and Mu Wanqing took the initiative to take on household chores, while Mo Qingcheng cut a piece of wild boar meat and carried by Zimo to the village chief's house. The village chief's wife Lu Tsuehua was taken aback and said, "Madam Mo, are you? Sister-in-law, I used so much salt from you. A small return is not a sign of respect." Mo Qingcheng handed the wild boar meat to Lu Tsuehua, his eyes filled with a smile. "Madam Mo, it's not easy for you to take a group of children with you alone, Sister.in.law understands. This wild pork is too valuable." Lu Tsuehua smacked her lips, "The children haven't eaten meat for more than 10 days, it's really greedy." But Bai Zimo tilted his small head and said, "Village chief auntie, flesh and flesh, stepmother, great." Lu Tsuehua looked at Mo Qingcheng in surprise and said, "Madam Mo, are you not injured? My stepmother is amazing. Hee hee." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Tianzi Seal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Tianzi Seal. Returning from the village chief's house, Mo Qingcheng had a small bag of coarse salt in his hand. The girl shook her head and laughed, "Better than boiling it in plain water." The little stars worshipped by Zimo all fell on Mo Qingcheng's face. The little one was overjoyed, and for some reason, he nibbled on the girl's face. Mo Qingcheng was stunned and said, Mo is so cute." Bai Zimo lowered his small head, both nervous and happy, and his stepmother did not harm him. Ha ha. A few children crowded onto the Kong and slept soundly, while Mo Qingcheng leaned against the wall and fell asleep unconsciously. At the moment of waking up, I found several small clothes covering my body and burst into laughter. Children cannot hide their longing for truth, goodness, and beauty in their hearts. Whoever treats them well will treat them well. I don't expect a few kids to immediately change their tune and call me their mother, but since fate has come together and taken over the body of the original owner, it is our responsibility and obligation to protect several children and let them grow up healthy. As for the future, will the system not mistreat itself? Mo Qingcheng stood up with a smile and said, "Don't run around. I'll find something that can fit my mouth. I'll head south the day after tomorrow. If I don't have anything to eat, I won't be able to. I'll go with you." Shangguanichen stood up and rubbed. "You are the boss, protect your younger siblings and the wild boar meat at home." Mo Qingcheng finally thought of a reason not to let the boss follow and turned around to walk out of the house. Shangguanichen frowned slightly and took a deep breath, blaming himself for dragging his feet. Mo Qingcheng walked into the forest, chose a large tree with lush branches and leaves, and climbed up quickly. A golden mark in the shape of a field is faintly visible on the wrist. Looking inside Mo Qing City, he slipped and fell directly from the tree. "Oh, my mother's old waist." Mo Qingcheng grinned and continued to check the situation of the starry farm. He obediently said, "The wind blows through the rice fields, and the vast expanse is endless. The fruitful and mellow fruits are intoxicating, the streams babble and the fish jump, and the medicinal fragrance fills the nose with a smile in the wind, crowds of chickens and ducks, cows and sheep running everywhere, an unknown seabird." Surprisingly, the Interstellar 1 laboratory also wore it. Ha ha. Auntie has become rich. Mo Qingcheng was pondering how to take out the things from the star farm when suddenly a strong wind struck. Bang! Mo Qingcheng flew back and an unidentified flying object hit the tree, creating a deep pit. The girl's mouth twitched wildly, and after seeing no movement for a while, she picked up a branch and walked forward, poking the unidentified object in the pit. Is it the extraterrestrial prey sent by the system? A muffled groan came to his ear, and Mo Qingcheng frowned slightly. It was not something, it was a person. Cut, please be careful. The girl pouted, and as she turned around, she caught a glimpse of a jade pendant. She stepped back and took out a veil to cover her face. She squinted her eyes and said, "Hey, is it dead or alive? Give me a definite message." Xian Yuanlin coughed and said, "Miss, can you speak when you see a dead person? What a demonic person. What if it's a comeback or a fake corpse? Help. This. Young master." Xian Yuanlin frowned and couldn't turn over. Mo Qingcheng chuckled lightly and said, "Hee, can you just save? How shameless is it? Is there any reward? It's quite generous." Puff. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. This girl is a good person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. This girl is a good person. Xian Yuanlin really wants to spray a mouthful of blood on a woman's face. Is the young lady a professional robber? Mo Qingcheng raised his eyebrows and said, "No. Ask me a question about yarn." I said goodbye. My instructor's time is precious, I don't have time to worry about it. Mo Qingcheng saw that there was no oil or water to catch, so he turned around and was about to leave. The man's hoarse voice sounded deep. 100 taels of gold. Is this girl for that little gold? Master said that saving a person's life is better than building a level 7 pagoda. Mo Qingcheng felt happy and turned around to run to Xian Yuanlin's side, pulling him out of the pit, his eyes furrowing. Didi obediently, under the blue sky and white sun, wearing a mask. Is it a mountain bandit? I saved lives and helped the wounded, while Huatua is still alive. How could I see a mere 100 taels of platinum in my eyes? Xian Yuanlin. Saving lives and helping the injured. I'm not buying it. Taking advantage of the fire to rob is more like that. Where there is gold, there is power. Mo Qingcheng hummed an unknown tune and carefully examined it. Poisoned, deep femoral bone marrow, double the cost of diagnosis. Puff. Xian Yuanlin sprayed blood again. Don't get excited, this girl is kind and generous, she is a good person. Is it the one selected from the good people? Mo Qingcheng pouted and reached out to remove the mask on Xian Yuanlin's face, but was tightly held by a big hand. If you don't look, then don't look. If you have a wound on your face, don't blame me for not healing. Mo Qingcheng was too lazy to pay attention, as he saw more and saw less. Xian Yuanlin secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The mask must not be taken off. Oh my, where is my instructor's silver needle? Mo Qingcheng's heart moved, and the old man who had been with him for 10 years suddenly appeared in his arms. Mo Qingcheng pretended to cough and took out a silver needle from his arms. The evil spirit raised its eyebrows, picked out the 3 longest silver needles, and plunged them into several large holes of Xian Yuanlin. Xian Yuanlin was greatly shocked and fell for it. After a stick of incense, Mo Qingcheng wrote a promissory note, cut the man's finger, pressed the fingerprint, and plundered all the silver bills and an ancestral jade pendant from his body. He squinted his fox eyes and looked long but empty. Remember to return the silver 1 year later, otherwise the interest will be 1 million taels. The girl looked back and smiled sweetly. Not long after, several dark shadows quickly arrived. Master, it's too late for you to come down. You deserve to die 1,000 times. Qingfeng, find a name for my king. Yes, master. Mo Qingcheng walked to the foot of the mountain, caught a wild rabbit, and took out dozens of eggs from the star farm, including eggs, duck eggs, and quail eggs. As he turned around, Mo Qingcheng's eyes tightened and he said, "Yichen. Xiao Wu and Xiao Lu are not at ease." Shangguanichen's eyes flickered slightly as he approached to pick up the wild rabbit. I'm not buying it. The little villain is very bad. Mo Qingcheng had already learned the fate of the 6 little villains in their past lives through system scanning. The road to transforming villains is obstructed and long. 1 big and 1 small remain silent, returning home one after another. A small ball flew forward and plunged into the arms of Maching City, saying, "Stepmother, have you become fat?" Shengwan Yunshi and Mu Wanqing's eyes lit up, and they worked together to bring the basket over. Eating rabbit meat and cooking eggs at night. Mo Qingcheng, placed by Zimo on the Kong, extended his claws, and glared at his small face, feeling unusually good. Bai Zimo felt aggrieved and wanted to cry, "My stepmother, Mo, please have a light meal." Puff. Mu Yunchuan laughed and said, "Fifth brother is a snack." Bai Zimo rolled his eyes, "Isn't the foodie good?" "I won't go hungry." Mo Qingcheng showed off his skills and peeled off the rabbit skin, intending to make a scarf for Lao Wu and Lao Lu in winter. Shengguani Chen and his siblings had just finished processing the rabbit meat when a howl came from outside the door. "Mo Nyangzi, come back to my mother's rabbit." End of this chapter. Chapter 7, Is the Stepmother Foolish? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7, Is the Stepmother Foolish? A slightly chubby figure rushed in like a whirlwind, hands akin to waist, glaring angrily at the Mo Qingcheng family. Mo Qingcheng's mouth twitched wildly, and the person who came was a well-known young widow from Nanping village. With her good looks, she was lazy, crying, making trouble, and hanging herself. The men of all sizes in the village turned pale at the sight. "Madam Mo, hurry up and hand over my rabbit. Is it easy for me? We have a big family, but unfortunately, we are orphans and widows. We finally raised a rabbit, but it was killed by you who killed thousands of dollars." Woo-woo. Widow Li covered her face with both hands and began to cry. Li Xiaqingnian, the youngest son of Widow Li, blushed when he saw his own mother playing pranks and said, "Mother, let's go back quickly, right?" "Shut up, there's something that can't be seen on the table. I'm almost being bullied to death. You're my own son, so hurry up and take the rabbit home." Widow Li sniffed through her fingers, the aroma in the pot was really tempting. The third grandmother next door and the village chief's wife Lu Tsuehua and others rushed over upon hearing the news, feeling slightly surprised in their hearts. How did Lady Mo provoke Widow Li? It's really headache-inducing. Widow Li's methods are endless and overwhelming. Mo Qingcheng held Bai Zimo in his arms and looked at Widow Li with a smile on his face. "Mrs. Li, are you sure that the rabbit in my pot is raised by your family?" Hey, the one who killed Qian Dao must be from my family. I can't bear to eat or drink, and I take care of that little white rabbit at home all day. I finally grew fat and chubby, but someone slaughtered me. We orphans and widows can't survive anymore. Let's give it a review. Aunt Li, my rabbit is gray. Bai Zimo looked at Widow Li with a puzzled expression on his face. Rabbit skin, then, my stepmother said, make a scarf. Everyone sneered and their eyes were filled with sarcasm. I've seen someone shameless before, I've never seen someone so shameless before. Widow Li was patting her thighs and wailing bitterly. Upon hearing Bai Zimo's words, her crying suddenly came to an end. With a black face, he got up from the ground, grabbed his son Li Xiaoqing's hand, and fled in embarrassment. Laughter echoed from behind, extremely piercing. Widow Li swore that she would never forgive Lady Mo even if she died in this lifetime. Xianyangpi, you're really cunning. I just wanted to eat a few bites of rabbit meat. Is there anything wrong with that? I haven't had any meat or fish in half a year. The villagers' eyes towards Mo Qingcheng have also changed. Madame Mo cannot be provoked. Madame Mo is not easy to provoke. Everyone shook their heads and left together, leaving only the third grandmother and the village chief's wife. The two comforted each other repeatedly, their necks stretched long, and they sniffed hard, causing their old faces to turn red. What did Mo Nyangzi's family do? Why is it so fragrant? I really want to take a deep breath. How can I break it? Mo Qingcheng couldn't help but laugh and cry, so he grabbed a few eggs and divided them among the two. A few little guys widened their eyes, eager to pounce. Is the stepmother foolish? Lu Tsuehua, the wife of the village chief, has a hot face on her old face. How can she feel embarrassed? Taking food from a child's mouth. Shame to death. Third granny was stunned, didn't she come to argue? Is there such a good thing? Mo Qingcheng was so busy that he said, a distant relative is better than a close neighbor. Thank you for taking care of me all the time, my third grandmother and sister. Law. If I try to evade it, I will look down on our orphans and widows. Third grandmother and village chief's wife Lu Tsuehua exchanged a glance, feeling heavy. They accepted the cooked light and left together. Mu Wanqing and Shengguan Yunxi, with a small black face, closed the courtyard door and stared at Mo Qingcheng with cold eyes. My stepmother, we don't have much food at home anymore. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Avoiding being worried by others. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Avoiding being worried by others. Shengguan Yunxi rolled her eyes. Was it easy for herself? Being in charge of food at a young age, I am heartbroken about this family. Mo Qingcheng raised his eyebrows and said, Yunxi, being a person requires a long-term perspective. As orphans and widows, we also need some help. Moreover, being a person requires understanding gratitude. Do you think the old lady is willing to eat from her mouth? There's no other way, there are too many and young children, and they can't take care of themselves. How can they be calculated and broken? Shengguan Yunxi blinked hard and took a deep breath, saying, my stepmother. It's all because Yunxi didn't consider it. Please try it. The little girl was fickle and immediately put on a smiling face. Mo Qingcheng will not really argue with the children. After dinner, the 5 little ones obediently slept down. Mo Qingcheng and Shengguan Yichen stared at each other, and the heated Kong was a bit crowded. If the original owner fell ill, they would push the boss away. You. Go to bed first, I'll go out and digest my food, so that no one cares about our wild boar meat. Shengguan Yichen's eyes flickered slightly, not giving Mo Qingcheng a chance to oppose, and rushed out the door. Mo Qingcheng. The bear child is so stubborn. Why is the picture so joyful? Shengguan Yichen arrived at the courtyard and frowned. Under the moonlight, the little figure started practicing martial arts one by one. A door away, Mo Qingcheng saw several children sleeping soundly. He flashed into the space and wanted to pick some fruits, but was blocked by a transparent barrier. Didi Tian, what kind of ghost? Is there an error in the system? This is the rhythm of killing people. Humph. The small universe of Mo Qingcheng erupted in an instant, visible but untouchable, with bullshit golden fingers still rolling out. Tell me clearly, what's going on? Mo Qingcheng's small face furrowed, and a hint of anger flashed in her beautiful eyes. Ahem. The host needs to exchange the blackened value. The system weakly dropped a sentence and slipped away. Mo Qingcheng laughed angrily and occupied my girl's interstellar farm, but set up obstacles and waited. It's best to pray not to fall into my girl's hands. The system master is trembling in the corner, and the interstellar which instructor is easy to penetrate. Is there any? After a round of inspection, there were very few supplies that could be brought out. 2 baskets of potatoes, 3 baskets of sweet potatoes, 1 basket of eggs, 1 box of instant noodles, 1 box of mineral water, several commonly used herbs, 2 daggers, 1 surgical knife, 1 package of silver needles, several bottles of elixirs, 5 steel knives, and several packages of sanitary napkins. That's all. Congratulations to the host for unlocking the first level land. Congratulations, fart. Why not unlock the red soil and black soil? Mo Qingcheng rolled his eyes and glanced at the things on the shelves in the corners. His eyelids twitched as he stomped away from the starry farm, his mind aching with anger. Confused, Noah threw himself into his arms and said, stepmother, go up and sleep. Qingcheng suddenly opened his eyes and found Bai Zimo pulling at her wrist, his face full of anxiety. Qingcheng snorted and his heart melted. He held Bai Zimo in his arms and climbed onto the con. Outside the door, the little boy's spine stiffened and he breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, she could sleep soundly the next morning. Qingcheng and Shenghuanichen greeted each other and went straight up the mountain. I come with you. Before she could finish speaking, the girl looked back and smiled lightly. You go sleep, wait for me to come back. Shenghuanichen's mouth stiffened, clenched his fist, and watched as the slender figure disappeared into his eyes, with a slight sourness in his eyes. Qingcheng came to the place where people were tricked yesterday, looking for a herb. Yesterday, he vaguely saw the dragon sword grass, so why not pull it out and stuff it into the space? Help! Help! End of this chapter. Chapter 9, Day 9, Descending Cute Sisters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9, Day 9, Descending Cute Sisters. In the forest, a girl in white, dressed elegantly and with a messy bun, stumbled and ran towards the direction of Qingcheng. Several black-clothed people were chasing closely behind. Sister, help! The girl looked up, slightly stunned, and felt great joy in her heart. Qingcheng's eyelids twitched. Who is so special? Is it your sister? I have seen someone deceive me before. I have never seen someone deceive me like this before. The leader of the man in black made a gesture, killing anyone. Is it still possible for this girl to run away now? Ah! The girl in white tripped and fell at the foot of Qingcheng. Sister, help! Qingcheng was so angry that he wanted to hit someone, and in the blink of an eye, his bow and crossbow kept coming towards him. Qingcheng's footsteps turned and he kicked the white-clad girl away, showing a slight lightness. His body twisted in a strange posture, avoiding the bow and crossbow. With a spin and kick, the crossbow returned to its original path. Puff! The man in black couldn't dodge, and his bow and crossbow hit his heart. The leader of the black-clothed man was greatly shocked in his heart. The girl in white widened her eyes and said, Sister, you're amazing again. Shut up! Qingcheng shouted angrily, Bear child, trying to kill my aunt. The girl hung diagonally on the branch of the tree, exerting all her strength and failing to fall. Looking at the earth-shattering scene under the tree with a difficult tilted head. A powerful and overwhelming force swept towards Qingcheng. Qingcheng raised his eyebrows slightly, with a wicked smile. There is a way to heaven that doesn't go, and hell that has no door to come and join. The interstellar all-around instructor was not built. Qingcheng discovered early in the morning that his special cultivation system was not affected in any way in another world. As long as she is willing, she can crush a few scumbags in front of her every minute. But isn't that very boring? Maximizing their fear is the most fun. Qingcheng is gone forever on the path of devastation, and several black-clothed people are in excruciating pain, suspecting their lives. Xia Nv, Auntie, can you please give me some pleasure? The leader of the black-clothed man wanted to take poison, but there was no chance. Qingcheng looked at her legs crossed, and the girl in white borrowed and pounded her back with her dog legs, enjoying the scumbag convention with enthusiasm. Sister, you're amazing. Maybe these people are here to kill you. Qingcheng's forehead twitched and he snapped his finger. Tell me, who are you going to kill? The eyes of several people in black gradually became empty, uncontrollable, and they competed to reveal everything they knew. Qingcheng's face turned increasingly black, and a hint of murderous intent flashed in his icy eyes. Mudun, you really came to trouble yourself, mistaking the girl in white for yourself. It's just that. The original owner was killed by someone, traveling west with a crane, and was taken over by himself. After asking for a while, I didn't know the specific behind-the-scenes instructions, and the chill on Qingcheng's small face was even stronger. The girl in white blinked her watery eyes and said, "Sister, I heard there is a powerful poison that can control a person's mind thousands of miles away. If you don't comply, it will turn into a puddle of water." The ethereal voice of the young girl sounded in the wind, and the black-clothed people knelt together. Qingcheng handed a bottle of elixir to the girl in white, glanced at the star farm, and stood up rubbing against it. "Oh my goodness, materials can be regenerated. Ha ha." The girl in white ran away with an evil smile, stuffing the pills into each person's mouths. In addition, each person rewarded them with a few kicks. Does it hurt? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. I Believe You Ghost. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. I Believe You Ghost, No Pain. That's strange. Qingcheng couldn't dig out too much information, so he showed great compassion and waved his small hand. The few of them disappeared into the forest in a blink of an eye. The white-clad girl affectionately held Qingcheng's arm, wanting to go grab a meal. Qingcheng politely declined, but the girl left her name and token, reluctant to part ways. She turned around 3 times and was taken away by an old man in gray. Qingcheng lowered his gaze and gazed at the phoenix-shaped jade pendant in his palm, his eyes shining deep. Hua Yunyao. If I remember correctly, this girl's identity is not simple. Perhaps I don't know what came to my mind, but Qingcheng's face suddenly changed and he turned around and left. In the barrier, a hint of coldness flashed in the eyes of the old man in gray. "Miss, are you sure?" 3 elders, Yao Yao is certain that my sister has a familiar aura on her body. Mississippi. Elder San, can't you trust me? My brother has been missing for over a year, so what should Yao Yao do? Hua Yunyao's eyes flickered slightly, not to mention her innocence and naivety just now. The old man in gray frowned and said, "I'll keep her alive." 3 elders, don't be impulsive. Impulsiveness is a devil, and Yao Yao always feels that Sister Mo has changed. Hua Yunyao raised her eyebrows, and the next second she became a harmless little girl. Elder San. Miss, please be happy. Qingcheng hurriedly descended the mountain, disregarding any dragon sword grass. This place is in danger, with high energy ahead and 30.6 strategies. The best strategy is to slip away. A little widow with 6 bare children, not running and waiting for someone to come knocking. Returning home, Qingcheng will take out the potatoes and sweet potatoes prepared in advance for 5 or 6 yuan, which will not attract attention. Stepmother, can this thing be eaten? Mu Wanqing ran up and flipped through the potatoes and sweet potatoes on the ground. Qingcheng paused in his footsteps and said, "I think we can." Shengguan Yinshi rolled his eyes and said, "My stepmother, have you ever eaten it?" Qingcheng was absent-minded and casually replied. Bai Zimo rushed over and said, "Stepmother, did someone bully you?" Qingcheng couldn't help but laugh and cry, holding Bai Zimo in his arms and saying, "How could that happen? The stepmother is very powerful, isn't she?" The little one nodded like pounding garlic. My stepmother pondered, "How can we keep our things safe on the way to escape? You guys are still young, you can't go hungry." Qingcheng didn't expect to casually find an excuse, and the few villains were deeply moved. The Tianzi mark on the wrist is a faint burning pain. Congratulations to the host, the land has been upgraded and the harvest of sunshine value is 100. Qingcheng's mouth twitched as he saw a child by his side. He didn't rush to check, but instead arranged for something to escape the famine the morning after tomorrow. Shengguan Yinshi pulled Mu Yunchuan to cook, while twins Bai Zimo and Bai Yunfei sat obediently on the side, watching Qingcheng pack his things. Shengguan Yichen entered the firewood room and started pounding drums. Qingcheng thought for a moment, boiled the remaining wild boar meat, sprinkled a layer of coarse salt, and placed it in the jar. Take out dozens of eggs and cook them together, ready to be replenished for the children on the way. My family is on all sides, and Mo Qingcheng sighs lightly. Shangguanichen crawled out with a cold face and handed a purse to Mo Qingcheng, saying, "Take it." Mo Qingcheng weighed his hands and broke a few taels of silver. His eyes turned and he placed them in the palm of the little boy's hand, saying, "Wealth never leaks out. You are the pillar of the family, you hold it for emergencies. Yesterday, I bumped into a tree and picked up 2 taels of silver. 6 little ones were stunned and knelt down directly. I believe you're a ghost." End of this chapter.